Hello, and welcome to Revolutionize Your Love Life. Do you want to know more about love relationships, what makes them work, how to create the one of your best dreams? Do you want to be in a really healthy, juicy love relationship? In these podcasts, we will give ideas and practical advice to light your way. Whether you're looking for a love partner, already in a relationship you wish could be better, or leaving one that has run its course, there will be something to inspire, empower, and support you. Revolutionize Your Love Life is a fortnightly podcast where you will access the knowledge and wisdom of love experts and relationship coaches from across the world to help you find true fulfillment in love. I am your host, Heather Garbutt. Welcome. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Jessica Yip, and she's a coach for hard-working people who feel they've ticked all the success boxes in life but are aching for more love and joy. As a leading Calling in the One coach, and now as one of the first certified True You coaches, personally trained by the wonderful Catherine Woodward Thomas, Jessica helps clients graduate from old stories and painful patterns that keeps love at a distance. She brings over a decade of experience blending transformative coaching, somatic attunement, and relational skill building to help you, reconnect, couldn't read the word, to help you reconnect with your aliveness, agency, and power to create healthy relationships, meaningful experiences, and the delicious life and love you've always hoped for. Oh, Jess, what a bio. And I know how successful you are at this, and I know you did it for yourself as well.
Yes, hi Heather. I'm so excited to share more about it with everyone.
Well, let's talk about your healthy, happy relationship and where did you start? Where did you start on that journey?
I'll take it back and say that when I started this work, when I found Calling in the One in 2018, I really wasn't that focused on being in a happy, healthy relationship. Most of me was feeling like I needed to do something different in life. I was in my early 30s and I had this moment where I was like, I think I've done all the things. Do I just do this for another 50 years and die? Like, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was living in San Francisco. I had an amazing job that really was my dream job until it wasn't, until I felt like I was supposed to do something else. And then it hurt every day to show up for what used to be my dream job, which actually is like kind of heartbreaking when you think about it. It was a
Yeah.
difficult place to be.
Oh, yes, that's
Um,
really painful because it's like it's one of those awakening moments, like when you've achieved something and you find that all of a sudden it becomes meaningless and empty. That's a big breaking open.
hmm Yeah, and
Mm,
I don't know if I would go so far as meaningless and empty, but I just knew I was like, you gotta go.
right.
Right? And everything you've built, right? Sometimes we build careers. Like I had spent a long time at this company that I really loved, and it taught me so many things. I use those skills even today, but I knew I had to go,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And that was quite devastating. But on top of that, you know, I didn't see it at the time, but I was in so many really toxic dynamics. And when my roommate at the time suggested that we do Calling in the One together, I was just up for anything. I was just gonna like, sure, I'll just say yes to this because a lot of times in my life, what gets suggested ends up being the right thing. It's like the universe, quote unquote, showing up for me. So we did the book together over the course of a year, and I realized I couldn't stop talking about it. So that's when I got into the coach training. And it was during the coach training that I realized I had been creating an entire life from this belief that I'm alone in life. So being incredibly self-sufficient. I would never know how to share about myself if things were going not perfectly. I would kind of wait until I'd figured it out to then share. There was a lot of choosing people who could have used my help, but didn't actually have very much to contribute to me, or I would not let them, right? If they wanted to be helpful, I'd be like, no, 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 I'm good. Right? There was no room for someone to really come into my life and really show up for me because I was so convinced in this subconscious level that I was just going to be alone, that people didn't really get me or people didn't really care about me. They could look it on the surface, but they didn't really care about me. So that's really where I started. And in that coach training, I made that commitment. I'm going to be in a committed, loving relationship, and I will do anything and everything to align with that future. And that, I mean, that commitment, like as you and I both know in our training, like when we set that intention and we commit to it, everything in life starts to feed us into that. And was it easy? No. But that commitment was more interesting to me than anything I had already done. I was like, I don't need to go back. So I'll just find out what's out here.
So, what did you notice? You know, when the universe, like you say, comes into alignment and feeds you, what I see is it feeds you opportunities and it feeds you obstacles. So, you either grow with the opportunity or you deal with the obstacle, which is generally re-triggering in yourself of a pattern. So, what did you notice?
Whew, okay. So I'll do two sides of it because one side is going to seem unrelated, but it obviously is very related, and then the one side is going to be more direct. The more quote unquote unrelated side was one, I really saw that my relationship with my parents was like broken in many ways. These were people who would like we would have done anything for each other, but I was like, do we even know each other? Do we even talk about anything real? And that really ached. And I knew something about that was off. Like if I was going to be in a loving, committed relationship and I wanted to show up for that in my whole life, I knew this was out of integrity. And so what that looked like, I mean, the short history is my brother died when I was 5, and my parents had no tools for how to cope with that. And in their best thinking at the time, it was let's not talk about it because it will upset everyone. And so we didn't talk about it. So in my sweet 5-year-old brain, my belief was, oh, the worst thing could happen to you, and literally no one will show up. No one will care.
Oh,
And and I mean, when I think back on it, it's so heartbreaking because we were all grieving in that same house, but not together. We were all so alone in it,
mm,
right? So in hindsight, I really see where that all came out. But since then, I had already decided like I don't trust you with my deepest feelings and who I am. And so in the calling in the one work, we look at how have I been creating this? How have I been creating this very superficial relationship with my parents? Like that is a very like ego, it's like an ego check when you're like, I
mm,
just want to blame them. But it's actually, how have I been creating it? Now, it wasn't my fault when I was 5, but ever since that day, it was my choice to not really share with them, to not really let them in on who I really was, to just shut down really when there was engagement. And so when I was outgrowing this, I realized, okay, I'm going to have to actually tell them who I am, how I feel. And I remember there was one moment I was in my office, I was still working at that job at the time, and my mom was doing this thing that she typically does. And bless her, I use her in a lot of examples because we've grown a lot together, so she's going to be okay with this. But she was telling me about how my dad was doing something, and she was comparing me and my father. Like, you always do this just like your dad. I'm sure everyone out here has had this version, some version of
yes,
this
of
exist in
course.
their life. So she's like complaining about it, and I can feel this like hot rage in me. And I knew this was the moment that I would have to say something, right? That was an example of how I would shut down. Normally, I would just shut down, let her talk at me, and then say, "Okay, bye, mom." Like I would just ignore basically what was actually happening. So in that moment, and I'm choking up tears because I can tell how hard it is for me to actually say the truth. And I tell her, Mom, I hate it when you say that. And I didn't, I wasn't yelling at her, but I told her, I was like, I hate it when you say that. If you have a problem with dad, you go tell him about it. If you don't like something about me, you talk to me about it. But don't play this game where you're comparing us.
Mm, making you
Right. And
both bad.
yeah. And what shocked me was that she was stunned. She was stunned that I had that much feeling about it, right? Because I'm like in tears, so I'm sure it sounded very dramatic. She was stunned and she actually said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you."
Mm.
Like she said, it was like she heard me for the first time, but I actually just never tried. I had never really made that attempt.
Right.
Um, and from that moment, I knew that showing up as myself was going to heal us. And after I did all this being with, we could, that's a whole separate conversation of how I healed my relationship with my brother and really coming back into that. But when I closed that up for myself, I could show up with them with no blame, no anger, no resentment. I did not need them to be anything but who they were. And then we got to be real. We've had moments where we got to cry together. We went through old photos. Like we just get to be honest, and I get to be an adult. I'm no longer like a 5-year-old feeling silenced around them.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And so like that's like the long route into, how did I find happy, healthy relationship? Because I had to actually be me. I think a lot of times we're out here like doing all this great work on ourselves, and then we go back and hang out with our parents or our sister or our brother, and then we're like, great, now I'm just the same old person that I was, feeling really small or doing what everyone else wants me to do. And that, let's not make ourselves wrong or bad for it. It's very normal. But if we want to change our whole lives, like let's get an integrity. Who would I need to be? How would I need to show up differently in those situations too? Like those are relationships as well.
Absolutely. And they're the prototype, really.
Yes, yes, they're the prototype.
Mm.
So
Can
the
I
the
can I just
other
stop?
side,
Because you hang
mhm.
on. Oh, yeah, go on. Say that bit first, and then I want to ask you about what you mean by integrity, because it may not be that that's a common concept for my listeners.
Yeah, I love that question about integrity. Okay, this is good because then it'll feed me into my other side of this story. So when I think about integrity, it's like, I mean, two things. Integrity is like wholeness. When you think of a bridge or something, like some construction item. When you think of that, if there's something wrong with the integrity of how it's built, like that will collapse. Like there's something about the wholeness and like does it work? And when I think about integrity in our lives, that's it. Like where are we solid and really aligned, and is it buildable? Like is it workable in your life? So it would be so out of integrity for me to like coach people in this and then secretly hide that like I can't figure out how to be myself with my mom.
Yeah, got you.
There's
Yeah,
like an incongruent quality to it. Or to say, I really want happy, healthy love, and then be really rude to your neighbor or something, right? Because then we're actually not being a person who is open and creating love in the world.
yeah. You're really
Yeah.
walking your talk.
Yes, exactly. Integrity, really think is like walking your talk. Absolutely. So with that, the tests that I was being given, along my journey of like, okay, loving committed relationship. Okay, let's see what you've got, Jess. So I call this chapter of my life 23 and Me with my friends because it's like a funny little thing. Because I literally dated 4 23-year-olds in a row as I got older. And every single one taught me a lesson of a toxic or unhealthy pattern that I was perpetuating in my relationships. So the first one was really actually kind of like, I think our teacher, Catherine, calls it like your dark guru. It's like the one where you became something that you didn't even recognize and you knew you needed to change. Like that was how it was. I was so anxious about this person calling me or not calling me or seeing me or not seeing me that I was like, just what is happening? Who are you right now?
Mm,
And I knew something was off. So not only did I realize that I was willing to wait around for someone who literally was never going to choose me. I was overgiving. I mean, we love that term in our work, but truly overgiving, like gifts, making myself overly available, like holding off plans as if this person might show up and call and want to see me. Um, so there was all of that. And this came around full circle. I had already moved out of San Francisco, and I remember getting a text from him. And I felt that like chemical high, that like hot chemical high of like, oh my God. And instead of immediately responding, I used one of our tools in calling in the one, and I said, Jess, what are you feeling right now? And I was able to listen and acknowledge that the attention felt nice, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not it's not untrue. But there was also a fear there of like, oh my God, what will happen? Will my heart get broken again? Will, like, what is this?
Mm.
Right? There's like a confusion in there. And once I really named all of that, the other part of me came online. The part of me that could look at that objectively and say, Jess, this is a person who has literally never asked about you unless he wanted something.
Mm.
This is a person who actually is quite incompatible when you really looked at the time you spent together. And this is someone who will never, ever, ever be a match for the loving, committed relationship that you want.
Mm.
So there was a truth telling that I wasn't willing to do before. This like, I'll just skip, I'll just skip all the red flags and like make it work. He literally, this was the other lesson at the beginning. He literally told me, he's like, I'm not sure if I want to be in a relationship right now. And I was like, that's fine, we'll figure it out. Like, that's literally what I said.
Mm. Mm.
As if it was going to be fine. I know people out there are like, oh my God, I do that too. Like that
Yeah.
downplaying of
Yes, and
what's
not
actually
believing what the
happening.
person says, and just imagining that
Exactly.
you can create some sort of magic change in them that will make them want you.
Precisely. So I caught all of that in that moment with the text message. And once I did, that chemical high just calmed down. There was an immediate, like, it was like a salve of like, oh, that was it. I got the truth. I don't even know if I responded, to be honest. I can't even remember. But that was the moment where I really got of like, ooh, we are no longer playing by such low standards. So that was the first. I mean, then the other ones I'll move through quickly, but like I also learned that I would use money as a way to feel like I could rush a relationship. Like I'd suddenly start paying for things that I definitely didn't need to pay for. Um, like trying to do for them what they couldn't do for themselves. If they were going through grief, I'd be like, let's get into it. Or like they wanted to fix their house up, and I'd be like, ooh, let's like plan the things. And I'm just overwhelming people with my capacity to do their life for them and forget about
So this
myself.
is that other aspect of overgiving, sacrifice. It's all in there.
Mhm.
Hmm.
The self-abandonment, right? The I was so easily and willing to just set aside my life to just hop on theirs,
Mm. Yeah.
which underneath all that, with that aloneness quality, was basically saying, I will make it so easy. Just let me stay. It was like
Mm.
this desperate, like, I'll just sit in this corner. I'll just sit in this corner. And if you just let me stay, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think with I Am Alone. Proximity feels like intimacy.
Ooh, love how you said that. Yeah.
Mm.
Those standards were so low.
Mm.
Standards were so low for a relationship. So I went through all that. And it wasn't until so then I met Trevor, my very sweet beloved, and I call him my cat daddy because we have three cats together. Um, we actually met in this small town that I moved to, which my parents were very nervous that I would never meet my person moving to this small town in the mountains. But if you're aligned, I just believe that that's just how it's going to go. I was like, well, I'm moving here anyway, so whether I meet this person or not, it's not really relevant. This is just what I'm doing. Um, and
And that's a key piece, actually. It's really
hmm
key to live your own life,
hmm
to really be who you are in this
hmm
process. Yeah. And
Yeah.
and you're right, the universe co-creates with you. If you're being yourself, somebody else who wants to be with you and likes you and is a good fit, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so true. Because, yeah, I needed to claim, like similar to how I was abandoning my life for other people. I actually just needed to claim, like, who do I want to be? Where do I want to live? And have that matter in the world. Like when I was alone and just self-abandoning just to like be kept by someone, it was like I would just go anywhere just to feel like I could keep that relationship. But for me to make a commitment to me and
Mm.
say, this is where I want to live.
Yeah.
And actually, if you knew this town, like it is a choice for people to move here. Like it's a small town, but it's beautiful and it has a lot of nature and there's like a lot of specific activities that really make sense here. So I know that their soul would match in that way if they actually lived here. And ironically, Trevor actually moved at the same time I did, but we just didn't know each other for several years. He was in another relationship, right? And I was building my business. And sometimes you have to be doing the life you're meant to be doing until you meet. I
Yep.
really trust in that divine timing.
Me too. Because I
Yeah.
think we're in that process of rising, and they need to be rising, and we need to rise so that we're at the point where we can really meet each other and see each other and know the value of each other as well as ourselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. And that, I mean, that brings home to me what I was doing in that time, like when I was coaching, building my business, starting to write my newsletter. I literally just spammed everyone in my email, my Gmail list at the time with a newsletter that I just decided to start because I knew I always wanted a partner who celebrated my creativity, who would say, wow, you actually have some talent and you clearly like writing. Why don't you do it more? I wanted someone to say that to me. So I was like, okay, well, Jess, you got to start being that person for yourself. So I started that newsletter and started creating it and faced a whole heap of other demons just by making myself that visible naturally. Um,
Mhm.
but that was who I had to be. So by the time I met Trevor, I knew it was something in me that valued my writing and creativity. And because that existed, it was a built-in expectation, right? Anyone in my life who didn't value that or celebrate that was like, that was not going to work because I already had it. I couldn't just wait for someone else to fill that gap in me.
No, no. And you couldn't dim that down because that's such a power source inside you, such a deep identity piece. Couldn't
Yes, and it made
possibly.
me more like there was more me to love in that way, right? When we claim the fullness of who we are, which is what you're talking about,
Mm.
people suddenly see all of you instead of me just disappearing into whatever space they left in their lives. I actually was a life and a human to care about.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. So how did you find Trevor? What did you just bump into each other? What happened?
No, we actually had a mutual friend who introduced us.
Wow.
And so she's still very much part of our lives. She's an incredible yoga teacher and massage therapist here and among many things, but she kind of clocked us early. And as he was exiting that relationship, she was like, "When are you ready?" And he's like, "I'm not ready yet." But eventually it it happened. And I'll tell everyone, when Trevor and I first met and we started dating, it actually didn't work. Kind of a lot of our old stuff came out. There was just this like it was sort of like mismatch. I think some people who watching the video, like it's like, you're just like ships in the night. You kind of like pass each other a little bit energetically. We liked each other, but there was just something that was off. And so we actually split up, stayed friends for about 6 months, did a bunch of our own work. And when we came back, I had actually let it go. I wasn't like pining or anything. I'd let it go. But when I came back, what I knew was that Trevor would need to share more of himself. Trevor is such a giver. And his past relationships were very much in that like he was overgiving.
Right.
Now, if you put two overgivers together, like that can feel really strange if you're operating from the old place because you're like, I don't know how to fit here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when we had actually both come back and done our work, and he was willing to start showing up as like a real human with like his own preferences and like opinions and things to share, I was like, oh, maybe. So it
There's
took a
somebody
couple more months.
there.
Yeah, there's somebody there. That was what it was.
Mm.
Um, and so when that started to happen, and I'd also kind of like, there was a part of me that I spent a bunch of time with my dad in that 6 months apart, and we drove across the country together. And I realized that for a long time, my desire for my dad to be more verbal or like forthcoming with sharing, if you give my dad more space, he does share. But the grabbiness of it, obviously, if I fill the space, he won't do it, which is ironic because I'm kind of like that too. So, but anyway, I did a lot of that just time spending, and that sort of relaxed something in me. And so my spaciousness plus Trevor's like more forthcoming presence actually made sense. And we decided we would try it again. And it has been really wonderful since, but we've absolutely had to learn together. I think it's a myth that Disney fed us that you just like find a person and it's happily ever after. Like relationships really take commitment and creation. It's not necessarily like a hard thing that you have to create together, but like you're just two adult people coming together with like different ways of doing most things. So you got to find a system that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
Mhm.
not like, the olden days when people got together at 18, they didn't have formed patterns and habits,
Right.
domestic stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
oh, well, you put your knives upwards in the dishwasher. I put mine downwards.
Exactly.
Oh. And if you
Yeah.
get into that, who's right? Oh my God, there be dragons.
And I think you nailed it right there. It's not about who's right. Because
Mm,
if you're playing the game of who's right, you will tear each other down,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
We're actually just interested in what is going to be workable for both of us. And I love the dish example because everyone comes to this. Like it's kind of a trope of relationship work, but it's also that's everyday life. You're gonna have to eat every day, you're gonna have to do dishes every day. Like, how are you gonna make that a workable thing? I prefer to clean my dishes and put them in the dishwasher intermittently throughout the day between clients and meetings. Trevor wants it done right away. So we had to have this conversation of like, I'm not being lazy. I just the task switching of all that is a lot for me.
mm,
But do we both show up for it? So if sometimes he's like, I want to clean this dish, he'll just clean it for me. And there's moments where I'm like, will it actually take me that long to clean this? No. And so then I'll just be more conscious of keeping a cleaner sink than I
yeah,
normally would.
yeah.
Just
It's
because
sort
I
of,
respect him, because I
yeah,
actually care.
yeah, consideration for his feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Instead
Uh,
of, which, trust me, I've definitely felt this, of like, instead of being stubborn and like doubling down on not doing it. Yeah.
that's so tempting, isn't it? That is so tempting. And I feel that myself, particularly from being a woman in this life. I do not want to spend my life wiping surfaces. Uh, You know, Ian likes clean surfaces. He's the cook in the
Mhm.
house. So, oh, okay. Yep. I'm not going to double down though. Yeah, absolutely right. I don't double down
Yeah.
anymore. Sometimes,
Right.
sometimes it gets me, but usually we can work through it.
Hmm.
But were there any things about Trevor that you needed to somehow verify that he was the right one? You've gone through
Yeah.
that process a bit. What do you see?
So, I mean, that first part was like, I need to make sure that he is willing to share and really like be a participant. Like, I'm looking for a partner. I'm done doing the over functioning. I don't want to be the person who talks all the time at a dinner party. Like, I want you to feel like you're part of this entity. So that was the first thing. One of the other things that always stands out to me, my cat got a pretty severe injury. He was like half paralyzed at the time when we started dating. And we live in a small town, so the vet doesn't have a neurology department. So I decided to drive him down to this hospital in San Diego, which is a 6-hour drive.
Ooh,
And Trevor said, I'm going to take a couple days off and I'm going to go with you. And now old me would have gone, no, 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 no. That's too much to ask. Don't do that. It's fine. But and this is obviously telling to everyone, like when you say you want a loving, committed relationship, part of our development is receiving when that shows up.
yes.
So instead of me saying, no, 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 it's fine, I said, wow, that's going to be so nice. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And it was so nice to have someone there for like a very sort of like emotional experience. My cat is fine now. Um, but he was literally half paralyzed. So it was just this very like involved um, moment. And to have him show up for me to receive that, I actually got to see his generosity, his commitment, his care. And then I got to feel it, receive it, and we got to get to know each other better, right? That's how a relationship deepens. You usually go through something together and you find out what this person is made of and who they're going to be when you're upset, who they're going to be when something goes wrong.
Yeah, and you let him in,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
key. Otherwise, he could have just felt a spare part in the relationship.
Yes, yes. And I watched my parents do that for years. I watched my mom be incredibly self-sufficient and independent and not let my dad help. And it's
Right.
very debilitating to want to show up for someone. And this person is like, no, it's fine, I got it. Then you just start to get trained of like, okay, I just won't care
Mm.
about how you feel then, because clearly you don't need me to.
Yeah, and it's subtly disabling
It is.
and demeaning.
It is. It really is. It shows almost like a lack of trust. Like, don't come any closer. I don't want you in here.
That's what I was thinking when you were talking a bit earlier about, the trust and commitment bit, those cornerstones. If you don't have trust, if you don't have respect, if you don't have commitment, if you don't have communication, then any one of those is a sort of threat to the relationship. But you built trust, you built commitment, you built the communication, and that sort of deep connection has come through all of those things.
And it's not always like, that the cat thing was kind of a very like a very tangible example. But there are moments where um I really had to share with Trevor, like when he was traveling one time, and I told him, I was like, I hate the texting like all the time. Like I just one, I don't want to be on my phone that much. And I don't feel particularly connected. I only feel like half connected. So I'd almost rather do less of that and then just like have a phone call every couple days or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, something more
And
meaningful for you.
yeah, it felt more meaningful for me. And so that like hot nerves came up again because I was like this was very early in our relationship, but I was like, if I am committed to a loving committed relationship, I'm going to need to be able to bring this up and not just stuff my feelings down. And I am going to trust that I can figure out a way to deliver this that doesn't make him bad or wrong. I'm really just sharing and finding out like what we can do together
Mm.
to account for this and be curious, like what is it on his end? Like how does he feel around this? So I actually did bring it up and we had a lovely conversation about it. But it felt um I don't know if I think for many people when you first get into that sort of like anxious avoidant push-pull thing, there's a moment where it comes to a head and it felt like this conversation was almost that where if you don't make it through that moment well, it feels like the relationship is going to fall away
Yeah.
because the falsehood of like everything's fine has to disappear in that moment. And you can either take it away by making it real and generative, or you're gonna
Mm.
let it slip away with this unspoken confusion.
Yeah. And I think you're touching on something really powerful there too. It's about how much contact each person wants. And that can be time spent together, it can be physical affection, it can be sex, I'm not just meaning sex by that, but being touched.
Hmm.
All of the love languages stuff is how much and how little. All needs to be negotiated.
Yes, yes. People assume like, oh, this person will just know. They do not know.
Nobody knows anything unless you really tell them.
Yes,
Mm.
exactly. And you kind of build that together as well. Oh my God, I tell this story because it's funny, but when I first moved in with Trevor, he like wouldn't like, I just love like chatting before falling asleep and like he wouldn't cuddle. And I was like, why won't he cuddle? And then I'm making all this meaning of like whatever this is. And then I realized I'm like, it's because he falls asleep within 5 seconds. Like that is literally, it is like literally not about me,
He's just
you
gone.
know?
Yeah.
It's just like he's like done. And I had to get over that in myself. I think a lot of people have this thing of like, when I meet the right person, they're going to be perfect in this way. And the truth is, like, he's just a real human. And it's not that he doesn't love me. It's not that he doesn't cuddle me at other times of day. It's just that when he is ready to fall asleep, like, that is it. And I
Yeah.
just accepted it. And I don't have that issue anymore.
And I think sleep is a really big one actually, because it's that how much contact again, but how much sleep, people's sleep is really valuable. And if you can't sleep because somebody's snoring beside you, or if they wake up at 4 o'clock and want to cuddle and you're still deep in your sleep and you don't want all that, you know, it can be really, really difficult. Yeah.
Hmm.
And if you
Hmm.
don't get your quality sleep, you're grumpy all the next day.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. So again, knowing ourselves well enough to navigate those moments without blowing them up
Yeah.
is a lot of the work that we're doing with people. Like a lot, I wouldn't have been able to pause myself mid freak out about the not cuddling had I not done this work. I would have just let that false idea that he didn't love me or that something was wrong or that I did something wrong. I would just let that take over and it would have pushed him away because I've been accusing him of something that he wasn't really in control of in that sense.
Yes. And they didn't really even know about.
hmm And
Wow.
then I'm going to make him feel like he's failing when he's actually just taking care of his own well-being.
Yeah.
And that there are other ways that I feel very nourished in that relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so lovely. That's so lovely. There was a point I was going to make there, and it's just dropped down the hole of my menopausal brain. I think it was about the co-creating, that these small negotiations, the catching yourself in the reactive rather than the responsive state, and the relationship skills of communicating in a way that doesn't make the other person wrong or bad. Just beautiful the way you've described all that.
Thank you. I mean, it has been what makes our relationship better and better. And it's been a learned road. I think back even just a couple years ago, how it sounded when we navigated something that we were like, I'm not sure about this, or like, what's happening for you here when this happens? And the way our language is now, like, we just get there so much faster because because we've established the trust, like you were saying, we've established the trust, the commitment, and we have so much more understanding. Ideally, when we navigate conflict, we come out on the other end with deeper understanding.
Yeah.
And
And
when you do it consistently, that just feeds your relationship. There's so much that's already set up that
yeah.
makes anything easier to deal with, really.
Yeah. And you've got loads of patterning then of constructive resolution so that you
hmm
both know what you're doing when it happens and you both can go, one or the other, or both of you go, hang on a minute, we could do that. Let's just unpack this a bit. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Brilliant relationship skills, Jess.
Oh, thanks. You got to learn them firsthand.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes, there's
creating
no other way.
safety. Yeah, there's no other way. Well, and staying in this work and this conversation, and obviously I also read plenty of supportive books. In addition to that, there's many wonderful teachers out there now. Um, but the willingness to show up and try it in the moment, to say, we have to do this differently, to say, I'm not just gonna shut down and say nothing or like be resigned
Yeah.
about it, to say that like I care about this enough that I actually care about how you feel instead of just assuming that I'm right.
Yes, absolutely, of course.
There was a very subtle moment. This Trevor wouldn't even know this moment because it literally happened only inside of me. I remember coming home and feeling just kind of overextended in my day. I'd said yes to too many things. I was supposed to deliver this and this and this. It was my night to cook dinner, like, all the things. And I noticed in me, there was this part of me that was kind of like resentful and annoyed that he didn't automatically come and say, what can I do for you? I literally hadn't even told him I was overwhelmed, right? Like none of this had happened. I was just sitting here realizing that I have this assumption, this expectation that other people are going to help me figure out my own choices where I made myself overwhelmed. Like that was my responsibility. Just because I said yes to too many things at work doesn't mean that Trevor needs to fix that for me.
No, don't need a
In fact,
rescuer.
it's not his responsibility,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? It's actually on me to look at my schedule and say, Jess, where are you not being realistic about what you're saying yes and no to? Right? That was my thing. But I think it's very common that we get in a relationship or we want a relationship even and think that, wow, that's going to make my life so much easier. Like, oh, they're just gonna like be that person who can like make dinner. If you're a single parent, like they're gonna be that person who like makes dinner for my kids so I can work more. And you're like, that's not how that works, unless maybe it's an agreement you actually come to consciously,
Choose. Yeah.
right? But we can't bring someone in to fill gaps on what we're not willing to do for ourselves. Like I couldn't bring Trevor in and say, you tell me that my writing matters and motivate me to show up in the world that way. Like that is not his responsibility. And that was kind of the same thing. It's like, it's not your responsibility to make sure my schedule is managed. Like
No,
I'm a grown adult here. It's my schedule. Now, if I need help, I can ask. But at the end of the day, it's also on me to just look at my schedule and say, this is for me.
self-care first. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and self-responsibility,
Mm.
we get blurred, I think, in relationship thinking that what is our responsibility suddenly becomes a dual responsibility. But there's each entity, like each person in the relationship, and there's the relationship. And we
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to bleed it all together in every moment.
No, no. And I think that's really important, actually, that we don't just lose ourselves and become a homogeneous blur.
Hmm.
You say a blur
Hmm.
is a good word. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So thank you, Jess. How can people find you if they want to work with you?
Oh, the easiest way, jessicayip.com.
Oh, lovely. That's
Yeah,
great.
I offer a free consultation, and it can be relationship related, or like we can go in through another door. Sometimes people have dreams of other things, especially I find I work very well with people who feel a lot like I did. This, like, I have more creativity, more contribution, more joy that I want to access, but I'm feeling stuck. Like I've kind of done what I thought I needed to do, and I still feel kind of empty inside, or there's a part of me that aches for something else. Now, will that absolutely touch your relationships too? Of course, because what is life but a series of relationships? But I do both relationship specific and outside of that.
Yeah. Pure
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. So jessicayip.com. I would love to connect with anyone. Even if there's questions, like if we had a we talked about something and people just have questions, there's an easy way to just contact and get more clarity.
Lovely. That's really lovely. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Jess. It's been wonderful to meet with you again. And maybe we can think up some more because
Yes, I would love that. Thank you, Heather. Always a joy to connect with you and your brilliance.
thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Revolutionize Your Love Life. I'd like to know what has been your biggest takeaway from this conversation. Do take a minute and share this with us and visit us on our Facebook page. You can connect with me personally on my email at heather@heathergarbutt.com. If you can think of someone who will benefit from listening to this podcast, please do share it with them. If you have any feedback on how I can improve it, please do reach out to me, as I'm always keen to learn more. Thank you so much again for listening, and we'll meet again on the next episode of Revolutionize Your Love Life.